Jon D'Auria, editor-in-chief of Base Magazine. How you doing today?
Well, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I was just saying I'm recovering. One of my 10 jobs is I'm a Sports Illustrated photographer, so I shot the game yesterday here in Vegas.
That's
So
wild,
yeah,
man.
just always doing something like yourself. You're a very busy guy.
Yeah, I
Um,
keep busy. I'm not on the sidelines shooting NFL games though, man. What's that's got to be a trip, huh?
and it's a funny road I've had as you know, you kind of follow my musician thing. So
Yep.
I've been a bass player myself for many years. Was with Cirque du Soleil. When I was in Cirque du
Mhm.
Soleil in Tokyo, I got involved in photography. Got with Getty Images. So it's just kind of been a multi-tiered path.
That is
A
so
little,
cool, man.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little, you know the deal. It's like when you're a
Yep.
freelancer and a creative, you kind of things come up and you have to say yes and figure it out. And
Anywhere the road takes you, you got to follow it, man. So, yeah.
So we're catching up today because I mean we've actually talked over the years and you know in various
Yeah.
different
Yep.
iterations, but we're catching up today because you have the Base Magazine Awards coming up in partnership with NAMM Show, January 22nd, Thursday, January
Mhm.
22nd, at the Observatory in Santa Ana.
Yep.
I want to talk to you about that because I know that it was kind of a different iteration a couple of years ago, and you guys
Yeah.
changed the name. So tell me that story.
Well, we effectively our staff was Bass Player Magazine for until it got acquired by a company in the UK called Future US or Future. And so I mean Chris Giese, who's one of our founders and our senior editor, he's like the first original bass journalist, like period. And he started with Bass Player. He was writing little columns when it was Guitar Player would have a little tiny we would get a
Right.
little note for bass. And it was
Yeah.
Chris and Jim Roberts who does a lot for us writing that. So, we had Bass Player Live over the years where we give out Lifetime Achievement Awards to, all the greats, the Stanley Clark, Carol Kay, James Jamerson. We have a long list. And then, Bass Player got acquired and we branched off and started Bass Magazine in 2019. And we always wanted to get the award presentation back because that was always so special for the fans and for the artists. And we took over the Bass Bash for a couple years, but it was right when COVID hit. And
Right.
the Bass
Yeah.
Bash concert event that would go side by side in the time of NAMM. It wasn't partnered with it, but and COVID hit and we were in our living rooms, so we're like, okay. And then when they ceased the print publication of Bass Player, and kind of effectively, stopped doing a lot of their operations, we're like, hey, let's bring these awards back. Let's make it the Bass Magazine Awards. And so last year was our debut kind of premiere of the Bass Magazine Awards, and it was just oh man, it was a remarkable night. And so now we're just looking, every year to raise the bar and keep it going. And luckily NAMM has partnered with us and we have a wonderful, very, symbiotic, I hope symbiotic relationship. And so yeah, so we're thrilled about what's coming up in a couple months.
Yeah, and it's an amazing show because you have tell us who won the awards last year, which because it's a pretty prestigious list.
Yeah, yeah. So last year our Lifetime Achievement Award winners were Sting, Justin Chancellor of Tool, and John Patitucci. And then our Future of Bass Award recipients were Mono Neon and Mohini Day. Now I
Yeah.
should mention we just last week traveled to Sting and presented him with his award because unfortunately he got very sick. Um, the 2 days before our event, which was wild for that's its own story.
I
Um,
bet. Yeah.
yeah, and we kind of scrambled, but it turned out just amazing. We had Tool performed. It was the
Wow.
their first award show they performed, and the smallest venue they had performed in since like 91, I believe. And so that was special. We had Mono Neon perform, and Les Claypool, we had present him the award, and Les came out and performed with Mono Neon, as did Oz Noy, the amazing guitarist. We had John Patitucci performing with his quartet, which was just phenomenal. He was playing upright and electric. I'm sorry, we had Mohini Day perform
Yeah.
a solo set, and then we had a bass player who I'm a big fan of, Scott Mulvihill out of Nashville. Um, he performed kind of in between all the acts, and he created an upright bass called the Database, which has synth pads on it, so he can
Oh,
perform. He's
okay,
got a
cool.
beautiful voice, and he'll tap in beats and then just start playing, and it's really phenomenal. So front to back, it was a really amazing evening. So
Yeah, I mean, that was always a thing for me with Bass Player magazine when it was a print publication because you would just discover people. I mean, that's how I found Steve,
yes,
well, I was to say Steve Vai, but also Billy Sheehan when they had the David Lee Roth band.
yes,
I had not heard of Billy
yep,
Sheehan, and all of a sudden he's on the cover, and it's
exactly,
all these really great. And it's always been a magazine that's been a bit ahead of its time. It kind of pegged the up and comers before
right.
they really blew up. So it's exciting. So tell me about the transition from print.
Absolutely. And this was before social media.
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the thing. Like that was the only window we had into the bass world was really like bass
Yes.
player, guitar player magazine.
Hmm.
Tell me about making the transition into digital publication because I know, like I mentioned, Sports Illustrated. That's what they've kind
Yes.
of have done the same. Tell me about that transition and how that's worked for you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, I'm a fan of print media.
I am too.
Coming up,
Yeah,
you and I are of
having
similar age.
having the magazine
Yes,
and yeah,
having the magazine, and it would sit there, and you would go through it, and you
yeah,
would read it cover to cover, and then when you're bored, you pick it up, flip to a page. That doesn't really happen anymore. And even in bass player, for us bass nerds, the ads were important because it would be like SWR, and it would be like, all these
yeah.
mons like Peanut, and all these players, and you're like, whoa. And so every little detail really mattered. Obviously, everything is going, digital. We're all glued to our phones, and all of that. The transition really came when we branched off and started Base Magazine. We analyzed what it would take to be a print publication. Um,
Mm.
and it was logistically a nightmare and
It's
economically
expensive. Yeah, it's expensive.
unobtainable. You know what I mean? We're like, we would have to out the gate sell this many subscriptions. And then we're like, everything's going the way of digital. Let's give in. Social media is huge, that's a big pilot of where things are directed and how things are consumed. And so, yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, you would have found Mono Neon probably or Mohini Day or
Right.
any of these amazing players that you see, if it wasn't for publications and such. So we kind of had to redirect our thinking of now everything is presented, anyone, a kid sitting, a girl or boy sitting in Nebraska or, England or something can just start making content that could potentially be seen everywhere. So we were like, what's our space in that? What's our
Right.
voice and what are we bringing to it? And our thing has kind of always been just being transparent as access. We've been working with the bass world for so long. We know all the players, we know their managers, we know their
Yeah,
publicists.
guys
And
can like we've done like guys can message
yeah,
you. They can find you on
absolutely.
Instagram and say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing." And if it's I mean, that's the thing. Like access is a really key thing because way
Big
back
time.
when you felt like it was this castle on the hill. It was hard to
Yes.
actually reach anybody.
Yep.
And
Hmm.
now yeah, and now all these people are actually available. You can talk with them. And also too, I think having a digital publication, it's more real time, right? Because
Yes.
all that stuff
Yes.
that came out in those magazines had to be prepared a month ahead of time or whatever, however
Yes.
long. So that's a
Yeah,
big
exactly. And
advantage.
now we have, evergreen stuff, which is always going to be relevant, which is, interviewing Sting about his life as a bass player and in music. And
Right.
then there's things that need to come out tomorrow, which is Guns N' Roses just announced the big 2026 tour. Duff is heading
Right.
out. These are the bass he's going to
Right.
play.
Right.
That needs to go out.
Rush is going out on tour. That
Rush is
exactly
going
that
out
kind of
on
stuff.
tour. Everyone has
Right.
to know. So
Exactly. Yeah.
that's kind of the beautiful thing. And I'm, being a musician like you, I'm kind of around the clock in some capacity functioning. So, if something breaks, if some news breaks, if unfortunately someone passes or something,
Right.
it's like we can get on and share that with our community. And so
Mm.
it's really cool in that sense. And kind of to what you were speaking to about the availability of artists and the access. I mean, you brought up Billy Sheehan. and discovering him in bass player. Nowadays, go message him on social media as a fan,
Yeah.
and there's a chance he'll get right back to you. You
He was
comment
he
on
was
his,
actually
yeah,
he was my first Music Matters podcast interview.
no way. That's so
Yeah,
cool,
and
man.
mainly because exactly what you said, because Billy's such a nice guy and
Lovely fella.
he like we do, he loves bass
Yep.
players.
Yes.
And if you don't have a passion for this, it's probably not going to work.
Exactly. And it's funny because now everyone has the platform, which is their phone or computer, is, the most famous bass player to the most novice in their living room can go on and say something. When I love talking to Chris Gc about it because he talks about in the early days, 1987, 88, 89, he would interview Anthony Jackson, rest in peace, just passed, Rocco Prestia, all these players, John Entwistle. And after the interview, they would be emotional and they would say, "Thank you. Nobody
Right.
talks to us and nobody,
Exactly. Yeah.
pays attention to the bass player. You're putting a spotlight on us." And we always kind of try to keep that in the forefront of our mentality of this is just bass. If you had something outside of bass, cool. If you were in a movie, great. If there was maybe some scandal about you and TMZ, we don't care. Let's talk about
Exactly.
what you love and what you're passionate about. Because as you know, bass players are passionate. They want to dork out and talk about their gear and what new pedal they just found and what compression changed their life. So it's super cool.
Yeah, and it does come down to community because I was going to say
Yes,
base brotherhood, but it's
yes,
brother and sisterhood
it's
because there's
huge.
obviously a lot of amazing women out there killing it on bass too.
Oh my gosh, dude.
But yeah, that community aspect has always been a thing, and that's something that always really attracted me. I started my bass players around the world page when I was living in Tokyo, and it was like it's
Yes.
amazing how many people want to talk about it, and it's very global, which is another thing
Oh
with
my
digital
gosh.
because with digital you're reaching a global audience on a daily basis.
Yes.
To
Yes.
speak about how powerful that is.
It's phenomenal. I mean, we get a lot of our readership, is broken down. Nowadays, everything's quantifiable. It's like this many people in Brazil
Right.
and we
Yeah.
have so many, followers and readers in Brazil, in Mexico, in the UK and in Japan, and all this. And through translation apps and even just real-time translation on websites and social media,
Yeah.
it's accessible to anyone. So that's a big thing when we plan our editorial content is we're not looking at just the scope of the US. We're looking at what's going on in Brazil, where
Yep.
good golly, like whatever's in the water there, they produce insane bass players. What's going on in Japan, where they
Yeah.
produce amazing bass players? What's going on, all over the place? And so really it's like taking that scope and broadening it, and making it on a global sense. And another huge thing, our editor at large, Elton Bradman, who's been doing it forever, he was with Bass Player. He was the editor in chief of Guitar World's Bass Guitar magazine.
Awesome.
His big thing is what in every article we post and write, what can a bass player take out of that and apply directly? And he copy edits everything. And so we'll write a piece and he'll do that. And he does that on a global level. He says, what would a kid in, Sao Paulo, Brazil, what would a kid in Mexico take from this and apply directly to what they do? And so, to us, it's kind of trying to be stewards of passing along these stories and body of knowledge. And additionally, just sharing the education with the amazing bass community because it's
Yeah.
like you said, it's like nothing else,
Right,
the
and
bass world.
it's giving them value for their time. They're investing their time
Yes,
in your publication, and it's giving them
absolutely.
something where they're going to really get something out of it. And I like the
Exactly.
fact, one you were talking about bass players often get overlooked, and I was thinking the first
Yes.
person that popped into my mind was Geezer Butler, and
Yes.
Rocco,
Yes.
but Rocco always he got some love.
He was out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, but those guys, it's nice to be able to show and also learn about their background because a lot of
Yes.
times, like before social media, it was really hard to dig up information on like, well, who did this?
Yes.
John Paul Jones is another one. He had a huge studio thing before he ever joined.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yes. Which is wild, man. And the other thing is kind of the bass player demeanor is different. Like I always feel like there are certain personality and emotional principles that attract people to bass, and we're not the kind that need to be in the spotlight. We can be just supportive and
right?
all of that. And so many of the mega superstars I talk to and know well like you wouldn't, they don't even know they're famous. Like Mike Dirnt, who's getting our Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah, and
Every
he's a
time
great player too. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, he's phenomenal. And every time he's so humble. And I always want to be like, Mike, you're in Green Day, man. And you've influenced, thousands of bass players. Someone like Colin
for
Greenwood from Radiohead, I swear he doesn't know he's famous.
right.
He's like, oh, do you think the readers would mind if I talked about this? And I'm like, you
Yeah,
could talk
funny.
about a cookie recipe and they would be enthralled. So
Right.
um it's very, bass players are very different minded in a very beautiful and cool
Yeah,
way.
I think by our essence we tend to be team players because
Absolutely.
I mean you're really winning when you're supporting the whole band. You're trying to make the band
Yes.
sound good. That's when you're I mean as a working I've been working since I was 15. I'm 60 now.
Yes.
So
Exactly.
I'm
Yes,
old.
yes. Yep. Yeah. Hey, no, not old at all nowadays, man.
But I mean that was something I always think of James Jamerson for that. Like, it's
Yes.
almost like that was the glue that held all that stuff together. So exciting, right?
Absolutely. It is. And that's why with the bass player mentality, I'm not surprised that you're a phenomenal photographer because that's such a bass player um job is like, let me make everyone else look good. I'll be behind the camera, behind the scenes, and I'm going to make you look amazing. That's kind
Yeah.
of like bass playing
Yeah, it
summed
is.
up
It
that
is.
way.
I've often said that because it's the mindset of showing up prepared,
Yep.
knowing your parts. It's the same exact thing. It's just having that focus, and you got to be a great musician. You have to have focus.
Yes.
That's which sometimes it seems like that wouldn't be the case, but it is true.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. See, it's a beautiful metaphor right there. So
Yeah, exactly.
it
So
it
let's
fits
talk
right
about
in.
oh, I'm sorry. Let's talk about your NAMM partnership because that's very exciting. Obviously, an
Yes.
international organization that's much beloved.
Yep.
Tell me how that came about and the people that you're working with over there.
Oh man, that was phenomenal. We're thrilled. And starting last year, it was so funny. We made contact. I had a question about media badges, and um,
As do
they're
we
always
all.
so gracious and phenomenal. Yeah, yeah. So I emailed just like kind of general inquiries, and I get an email back, and they're like, "Oh, we gotcha. You're covered. Anything else you need help with?" And I was like, "Well, hey, I just want to let you know that right up the road, we're putting on the Bass Magazine Awards. We have Sting, Tool, all these, players." And within 5 minutes, I get an email back from Jon D'Auria. Um, and he's one of the honchos over there. He's the director of communications, and he was like, "Tell us more."
Yeah,
Um, and ever since then, I've been working with him constantly, and he's
awesome.
just a phenomenal guy. He's just someone that you feel lucky to know because he's such a sweet dude, thoughtful, people person, detail oriented, and that kind of sums up NAMM as a whole. And so we got to talking, and we kind of approached it mutually and said, what does it look like working together moving forward? Because our goal was always to pair it with NAMM. We didn't know if it would be official in this capacity for a while, but we did it NAMM weekend because you have just 100,000 people from all over the world in the music community in one bubble of Anaheim.
Right. And
And
it's just it doesn't really happen not too many other
no,
places. Yeah.
no, and they hang too because everyone gets there and is so happy to see each other. We all communicate, like you and me, through email, text, phone, and all of a sudden everyone's in a room together. And it's like, dude, this is so good to see you in person. Um, we wanted to take that and pair the awards show, and even just for ease and accessibility, having everyone try to fly in and come into LA in April, that's harder than having everyone already there. So
Right. And trying to do interviews too when you have all the guys are right in
big
front of you.
time.
There's nothing better than that. I mean,
Yes.
we use Zoom, of course, but it's
Of
still
course.
having
Yeah.
the person in front of you makes a big difference, right?
Such a difference. Yeah. And so ultimately this year NAMM, we're partnered with NAMM. So they're promoting us, we're promoting them. We're doing it to where we're part of their creators suite and we're gonna be on the NAMM floor the whole week doing interviews, demos, talking with gear companies, up in the creator lounge. We're putting on a bass hang happy hour on Friday, which
Oh,
will be
awesome.
going down for NAMM attendees in the bass world. So if that is you and you're going to be there, hit me up. Come find us and come have a drink and hang out and talk bass. And yeah, and really it's a beautiful partnership. I think like we talk, John Dolek and I talk every day, email with so many people from NAMM every day. I don't
Awesome.
think we've said no to each other once about anything. It's always like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's like, oh, dude, absolutely. And then they'll be like, what about this? And we're like, yes, so it's just like it's been such an enthusiastic and just beautiful partnership that we have, and we're just thrilled. I mean, John Malinzak, the CEO, I just interviewed him for a story I'll be putting out, and we've been working with him, and he's fantastic. I mean, that's
Yeah.
a guy at the top position who cares about every single person down to the custodian staff and security. And when you see that, it makes you want to work with people all the more. So
Yeah, the thing is that now, I mean, my understanding is it's set up as a nonprofit. Those people that work for
yes,
that company,
yes,
they really have a passion for music, musicians, music retailers, music manufacturers, which is a lot of the
absolutely.
people that keep you alive too, because
Oh my gosh,
you're using advertising. I mean, that those are the people that
huge.
are keeping your staff paid and keeping you guys
Yep.
going. So we all owe a big uh, debt of gratitude to them. And I've been going to NAMM. My first NAMM was 1983.
Nice. See, you have more than me then. Yeah.
Wait,
That's
wait, wait.
amazing.
Yeah,
I think mine was 2008. So,
I was
yeah.
a young musician, and I was in drum corps. I don't know if you know what drum corps is, but
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
our
Yeah.
instructor Rob Carson was head of education for Rebo, and he's like, "Hey, I've got this gig. You guys are going to
Nice.
jam on some drums, and I'm going to take you to NAMM." And we're all like, "What's NAMM?" We had no idea.
Wow. Yeah.
I get there as a
What is it?
17, 18, yeah, I get there as a 17 and 18-year old. I'm like, holy crap, so
Yes.
crazy. I wanted to give
Yes.
a shout
And
out
that's
to
amazing.
yeah, I want to give a shout out to Megan from the Lipping Group who put us together. She's part of the
Yes.
marketing
Yes.
team,
Yep.
which those guys also do an amazing job. Tell people
Phenomenal.
how they can buy tickets for the show, the Base Awards show, and again where the location and all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can get tickets there through Ticketmaster and Live Nation, but you can go to basemagazineawards.com or basemagazine.com, and we have links up, and you can get tickets. They're still available. They're going fast, but um, yeah, so that's the best way to do it. All the info is online. We're putting very steadily social media and website promos, and we kind of like to stagger announcements. And so we'll be announcing the presenters for the awards coming up after the holidays. It's always tough with you have Thanksgiving and then the December holidays and everything, and it's like people only look so far in advance. So we
Right.
try
Yeah,
to
there's
stagger.
a lot happening right now.
Oh, huge. And so we don't want to just be like, hey, check this out. We got this, and this, and this, and this. And so we like to kind of
Yeah.
roll it out. But yeah, it's going to be fantastic. This year, our Lifetime Achievement Award recipients are Les Claypool,
Awesome.
Primus, Mike Dern of Green Day, and Marcus Miller, who just
Yep.
Marcus Miller. And
Love
the
Marcus.
yes, the Future of Bass Award recipients are Laura Lee from Krungbin and Blue
Hmm.
to Tiger, who's a phenomenal,
Yeah,
just
she's
producer,
killing it. Yeah.
killing it. Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're thrilled, and they're all genuinely, thrilled. And I just have to say, last year we had Tool perform, and we had Les Claypool with Mono Neon and Osnoy. This year the performances are insane. Like we topped that. So we like to keep performances a secret. We like to keep it kind of a be there to experience it kind of thing. But I just telling you right now on November 24th that you don't want to miss what's going to be going on in this 1,000-person venue, which is the observatory in Santa Ana.
Yeah, I
So
was going to say because actually that venue is very cool because it's not so huge. It feels very
yes.
intimate. You get a chance to really and not only see them perform, but just interact with some of your favorite musicians, favorite bass players, and
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
a very unique opportunity. As is NAMM because you see those guys
Yes,
walking around.
of
Also, too, we want to
course.
make sure that people come by and check out you're going to have basically a booth at NAMM, right? Set up.
It's in the creator suite, so it's
Okay,
not necessarily we're displaying anything. We're just creating content, but we'll be on the NAMM floor a
awesome.
ton. And yeah, and just really, I mean, the event is for the Bass Magazine Awards are for the bass community, and it's just such a loving environment in there. It's everyone's happy to be there and happy to see each other, and it's crazy. Last year, I remember I went out to the crowd for a minute. I think when Patitucci was performing, and I turn around. And it's just Les Claypool standing with Maynard James Keenan of Tool,
Right.
standing
Yep.
next to Rick Beato, standing next to, and it was just this insane wall of people in general admission just kind of standing there. And I was like, this is cool in this space,
Yeah. Where else would that happen? Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very safe, to where it's like in the base world, the swarming happens, but it's not like you need like three security guards. It's like, yeah,
Right.
let's
Yeah.
go meet, let's go talk with them. We're
Yeah.
docile people.
Yeah, because
So,
a lot of bass players too, they feel like they've kind of grown up with those guys, right? I mean,
oh,
like
of course.
I know I'm like that with John. I saw John playing at the Irvine Marriott when I was in Orange, lived in
Yes.
Orange County, just before he
Yep.
got the chick gig. I'm like, oh my God, this
Absolutely.
guy's so amazing.
Yes. And it was the coolest thing because being backstage and, out of respect to Tool, we didn't do a lot of backstage videography and photography last year. That's all going to change this year.
Yeah. Well, I know a
And
photographer.
yes, hey, come on, dude, come by. You're obviously in. But it was so cool because when Les Claypool showed up, he showed up with his wife and his manager, and I went out to greet him in the parking lot. And we're walking through, and Les has his bass, his Pachyderm bass in his bag, in his case on his back. And we're walking and chatting. I'm talking with his wife and him and talking about their vineyard and how thrilled I am they're there. And he walks in and he just stops. And Verdine White of Earth, Wind and Fire is there. And he goes, "That's Verdine White of Earth, Wind and Fire." And I was like, "Yeah." And he walks up and he goes, "Verdine." He's like, "Les Claypool." He's like, "I'm such a huge fan.
How
Oh my
cool is
gosh.
that? Yeah.
Yeah, I spun your records as a kid." And then we
How
walk
fun.
off because I was getting him to the green room because Tool was waiting to say hi to him. And he's talking to his wife. He's like, "That's one of my heroes." And then all of a sudden, Jerry Jamont is right there, and he goes, "Jerry Jamont." He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "I
That's funny.
spun this," and Jerry's thrilled to see him. And then all of a
Yeah,
sudden,
that's
Victor
awesome.
Wooten and Marcus Miller are all standing around, and it's just like, wow, what universe is this? So
Yeah.
that's kind of the vibe we want to bring to this for not just us and them, but for anyone who buys a ticket, come be a part of that.
Yeah, and it speaks to how awesome the bass community is. It's like
Yes,
I said, it's a brother sisterhood of really great
absolutely.
folks. Yeah. Especially these
It's
days.
amazing like that.
It's not easy to survive as a musician these days. So it's the
Of
fact that those
course.
guys are all able to get together and support each other is amazing.
Exactly. That was a testament to the bass world was during COVID when everyone was home. The support online and the communal sense that kind of came together. You had the top tier bass players going on Facebook Live or Instagram Live being like, "Hey, I know everyone's going through a lot.
Yep.
I just, want to take this moment and I want to show you how to play this song that you might like. And it was just
Yeah.
such a cool thing. And that's really carried. And so we're really trying to bottle that and preserve it and be like, hey, here's a way to connect, like that with
Yeah,
everyone.
that's how I actually started the podcast because I
Oh
was
yeah.
sitting I was sitting
Yep.
at home going, now what do I do? And I
Yeah.
contacted Billy. Billy, I was like, and I was writing for Jazz Musician,
Yes,
or bass or music in Europe. I can't think of the name. Anyway,
of
but I was
course.
writing
You have
for
so many jobs, you lose
I,
track of them.
I do. It's crazy.
Yes,
But yeah, I
yes.
was writing for the magazine, and I'm like, I should do something. I got to figure this
Of
out. So,
course.
and it's been a fun ride because I get to speak with people like you. I get to showcase
Oh, likewise.
a lot of indie musicians, a lot of up and coming musicians. So that's been really fun. Do you
I
guys
love
have
it, man.
actually? Do
Yeah.
you guys have a podcast?
We don't we started a video interview series in
Yeah.
2022 and we're rolling them out. It's somewhat like podcasts, but it's just, video backstage videos of
Right.
players and such.
But we
It's
need to
so
get the
funny.
pod. We need to get the podcast up.
I know. Everyone always says that, and everyone has said that when the writing was on the wall that bass player was going away. Elton Bradman, Chris Gc, and I got together, and we're like, "What's the move? Is it a podcast? Is it a magazine? Is it a website?" And we
Right.
and
It's trying to
every you know
figure all that out.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like podcast, and then by the time that we started going, there were just hundreds of bass podcasts, and we like to look at what we can do well. And it's not that we don't want to try to be the best at everything we can be, but you look at
Yeah. You have to
education
focus.
and
You have
it's
to
like
focus your energy. Yeah.
absolute Scott's Bass Lessons has a strong hold for good reason, on education, along with so many other programs out there that are phenomenal. And then, we look at very in-depth, constant reviews, and it's like pick a channel. You have Nate Navarro, you have all these cats out there
Right.
that are just killing it. So we're like, what do we bring that is legit? So, but
Unique.
podcasts, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that we should be doing. But I'm a big fan of yours. You certainly have the persona, the voice, and all the knowledge for it. So I'm a fan of your podcast,
Well, I
man.
appreciate that. Yeah, for me, I'm having fun, and it's nice. It's lovely to really focus and shine a light on folks that like you guys are doing, people that
Yes.
are known, but then also people that are up and coming. I think that's a
Yes.
really exciting opportunity for us both to be able to do that, and I view it as definitely a privilege. It's awesome that
Oh,
people
big
take their
time.
time, like giving me your time. I value that, and I think it's
Yes.
important to let that shine out there, let people know that that's important. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much, John. I appreciate your time. I know we could probably go on for 3 hours
Of
because
course.
we
Oh
have
my
a lot of
God. Be
we have
here
a
all
lot
day
of
with you, man.
yeah, we have a lot of mutual friends and
But
probably
I
some
know
mutuals.
you have a gig and a photo shoot and three other jobs coming up this afternoon. So
Well, actually, today I'm in recovery from my Sunday football
good. Good.
adventure.
I'm so glad. Good, good. I hope you get a little break from that. And but yeah, but basemagazineawards.com, basemagazine.com. It's
Perfect.
happening January 22nd at the Observatory, Santa Ana, California. It's just a quick little Uber or drive from, the NAMM campus, which is the Anaheim Convention Center. So a really quick little trip and easy to get to if you're at the NAMM show. We're going to be rolling out a lot more information in the coming weeks, and we're going to have the artists, Mike Dern and Les Claypool and all them talking about it and putting out some videos and such about it. So right now we're just trying to raise awareness and fill that room with as many bass loving bodies as we can. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. Shout out to
oh, thank
NAM.
you so much, Darrell.
Shout out to
Yes,
the NAM organization. Shout out to the Lipping Group marketing team, and we love all of you guys. You guys do a killer job, and we really appreciate your time.
absolutely. So grateful for all of NAM, and yeah, I can't express enough gratitude to them. And again, like Darrell, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about it, man.
Absolutely. Have a great day, John.
You as well, man. Talk soon.